Biofriendly Podcast. It's the Biofriendly Podcast.
All right, well, we're going to just kick
That's it.
We're going to kick things off and just basically say this is a very unique Biofriendly podcast because this is one of the first times that, I'm alone here just talking to an empty chair, and Noel is at an airport.
I'm not alone, but I am not with Jacob.
Yes, what airport are you at right now?
I am at JFK Airport in New York.
Oh, I spent 5 hours there last week.
Yeah,
what an
we almost
airport.
had to do this podcast from two different countries. We're almost going to do this thing on Skype.
Did.
With you in Recife and me in New York.
I know, and I didn't get a chance to tell you this while I was there, but before I left town, for the audience at home, Noel and I both had to be in different parts of the world, when we would normally record. And so right before we left town, we're like, yeah, let's just do it. I'll do it from Recife, Brazil, and you'll be in New York, and we'll do it on that Saturday. And right when I got to Brazil, I was like, I don't have any of the audio equipment that I need to record a podcast. I don't have the audio device. I don't have any of that equipment. So I'm sure we could have pulled it off. It just probably wouldn't.
I wonder if we had just Skyped each other.
Yeah, we probably could have. We probably could.
How it would have sounded.
Yeah, it probably would have just been a lower quality.
Experiment one day to do that and see how much the audience complains.
Let's do it.
This is garbage. This Skype version, but maybe it won't be garbage. Maybe it'll be incredible.
Yeah, your voice sounds pretty good to me. It sounds pretty nice and clear. It'll definitely be different.
How about everyone else in the airport? Are their voices clear too?
So do you think we could name this? We could name this episode with special guest everyone at JFK.
Everyone at JFK. Yes, that's perfect.
All right. Well, so really for the topic, for this episode. Well, first of all, hi, I'm Jacob.
And I'm Noel.
And welcome to the Biofriendly Podcast with remote Noel. And we're, instead of coming in with a subject, I just wanted to tell you, I want to hear how you're doing on your travel. And I wanted to tell you a little bit of my experience, too, just in terms of since we've started the show and environmental things, there was a lot I was experiencing. I was like, wow, especially from a more global perspective being in Brazil. So does that sound cool to you?
Tell us.
Okay.
Please.
Okay, well, first off...
This is kind of me finding it. This is the first time we've been able to catch up with each other even on this.
I know.
I know.
So you're going to find out with the audience. Well, first of all, I had a wonderful time. And to give everybody an idea of what I was there for, I had traveled down to Recife, Brazil, which is a beautiful beach city. I absolutely loved it. The Brazilian people are so kind and warm and accepting, and just everything about the trip was incredible. So that was good. Loved it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I was there because we have, there's a gas company, Deslube, and they have a gas called Duramais, which contains our technology, Green Plus, and it was kind of the celebration of the Duramais gasoline, and it was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. Our technology is helping to reduce emissions in Brazil, and everybody there was just so ecstatic about it. I can't even begin to tell you. I can't wait to tell you in person when you get home how excited people were about what Green Plus does and how it's making a difference.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. I love the video you posted on the internet.
Yes, if you go under...
Oh, cool.
Go under our socials. I made a little video for, kind of to show the last night party. They had a big Brazilian rock band called Paralamas do Sucesso. And they were like a huge rock band in the 80s. And they were guests that night. And there were a lot of people from our generation in Brazil that were like, it's a big deal that these guys are playing here tonight. So that was pretty cool.
That's great.
Yeah.
There's so many people there. It was nuts. It was a big event.
It was insane. And the best part for me, honestly, was I would be standing there and I would be getting something to eat, and somebody would hear my American accent, my California, speaking in English, and they would ask where I was from, and I would explain, I'm from Biofriendly, and I would say, in the Green Plus on your shirt right there, that's from us, and people just were like, oh, Green Plus, so it was just so fun. It was just great.
That's great.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That is so cool.
But yeah, before I go into some of my travel stuff, tell me about what you can tell me about your travels and how they've been. You've been to 2 cities.
I did. I went to Washington early last week because we're working with
you can't talk about it, huh?
What's so funny is if this podcast is about me talking about what I did, and it's like so much I can't say.
That's true. Well, you're running for president. He's announcing now. Noel went to Washington, D.C. because he's running for president in 2020. And we weren't supposed to say it, but this is the time. We might as well just drop it on him, Noel.
The broad strokes are that we are working very closely with folks in the government of the United States to try to help push the green message a little bit.
That's awesome.
Get more green stuff happening, and obviously to see if there's something we can do to cut back on the amount of air pollution that's in the skies. And so I was taking meetings for 3 straight days on that, and it was great. It went really well. It was all really well received. There's definitely a lot of support in Washington right now for green, which is good news for all of it.
Absolutely.
The U.S. is it makes a big impact on that, and when the U.S. makes good decisions, it helps the world. So it was really cool. And then after that, I flew up to I took a train from D.C. to New York.
Planes, trains, and automobiles.
Yeah, I got to see some countryside and catch up with our one of our board members who works in Washington and does a lot down there and has been in politics his whole life and has kind of helped us set this all up. And he came with me on the train. His name is Jose, and Jose Nino, and we made that trip, got to Washington, and then we met with our UN team. We've been working this is kind of related to what Jacob's doing, but Jacob's part of what he was doing down in Brazil was launching this product Duramice, and what they're doing with that is they're actually that entire organization has been certified with the United Nations to meet the Sustainable Development Goals. So in Brazil, and also in a couple of companies, Akron, as well as Gulf, who operates in the U.S., but Gulf's operation in Mexico, are all now certified by the United Nations to be sustainable businesses. And they're working on trying to meet as many of those 17 Sustainable Development Goals as they can.
Yeah.
And it's really cool because doing what they're doing is not only making a difference by helping the air, but just making the difference socially and for the planet in so many ways. They're really cool. If you get a chance to check them out, you should go to the United Nations website and just look up what's called the Sustainable Development Goals, or S, Sam, D as in dog, G as in Gary's. And so we were with our Latin American team, and we were presenting what we had been doing as a company to further those Sustainable Development Goals and to try to get more of an impact for those across the globe. And so we presented that, and we talked about our product. Our product's actually certified by the United Nations to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, which is really awesome. So any company that is SDG certified that uses our product actually gets money back for doing so because they're helping the environment. So we had some conferences about that, and it was pretty amazing. It was a pretty incredible experience. There's some really great people in the United Nations trying very hard to do things to make a difference and to really get this planet clean by 2030, which is it's a really ambitious goal, but you have to have ambitious goals if you're gonna make a difference. So,
yeah. Well, I'm gathering what you're telling me in all of this update is that it sounds like that Noel and Jacob put their money where their mouth is when it comes to the Biofriendly podcast. So we're not just all talk, right?
We're not.
We are actually trying to help the world and try to make it better. We may joke, we may laugh, we may goof around and clown all day long.
But that's just to keep you listening.
That's just to keep you entertained, because the truth is we are out in the world, pounding the pavement and trying to make the planet better.
That's the thing. If you don't get out there and work hard and try to and actually do things, make a difference, then nothing will ever get done. And that's, we're not saying that everybody who's listening to the podcast should be spending their entire lives dedicated to green, because obviously it's easier for us because
it's our job.
We're in a position where we get paid for it, so it's part of our job, which is great.
Yeah.
But little things, man, little things. I tell you, when we get out there and we're in the community doing the work and trying to get things done, you can see what a big difference it makes when people do little things. It's great. So keep it up. We love our Biofriendly podcast audience.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, we're stoked to see all that you've been doing so far and to hear you keep it up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I talked to some people on my trip who had listened to the show, and they said they loved it. And they just said it was really fun and funny. And it was just really exciting because, the people that hadn't, I would tell them a little bit I talked to some of these really young guys from the Brazilian Recife, the government. They work for the secretary. Yeah. And I was telling them about the podcast, and I told them our message. I said, we're a beacon of light in a gloomy environment. We're trying to make people feel uplifted and positive. And he looked at me like, why has nobody ever thought of that? because he's like, that's the thing, is we all want to make changes and we want to make improvements, but it seems like it gets overwhelming, it gets depressing, it gets real sad and dire. And he's like, I think we need a little bit of positivity. And I was like, that's what we're going for.
I think that because everybody, I hate to say it, and it's a tough thing to say when your job is to be an environmentalist and to help the environment. But I do think that our community is using some numbers in a way to try to use fear to move the needle. Yeah. And the fact of the matter is a lot of what is being put out by our community isn't entirely accurate. It isn't completely true. We're not going to be dead in 12 years. Yeah. We need to get some stuff done. Yeah. To get there. But it's not as dire as that. There is time. We just need to start changing our mindset. Yeah. Start doing things better, and then as that happens, it'll steamroll in the correct direction, and we'll be fine. Yeah. So, and I think that just letting people know that we're not going to die. It's not hopeless. Don't just don't give up. Yeah. Don't spend the next 12 years partying it up and just saying forget it. We're all going to die anyway. Yeah. It doesn't matter. That's not because then we will be in trouble, right? Yeah. But because there is time, we can get it done. We've all gotta pitch in as much as you can. Do as much as you can.
And I agree. We've talked about this before on the show, but before, I started working in the environmental space, I was doing the best I could, but I felt like I would get overwhelmed. And I was like, you know what? If we're going to hell in a handbasket, I guess that's all there is to it. And
I may as well get a race car and go fast.
Yeah, it just didn't feel like I could do anything. Whereas I feel like when we turn it more into the little things, the little micro steps and changes you can make, I just get filled with a lot more hope and promise for tomorrow. And it just makes me feel inspired to work harder. And I just feel like, if that's not how you operate out there in the world, and you do operate off of the fear and the terror, then hey, go have fun. But for me, I need somebody who's gonna kind of pat me on the back and be like, it's gonna be okay, we're in this together, let's laugh a little bit as we pick up this trash.
Yeah, exactly. And let's just remember that it is very difficult to project, right? Like you take numbers that nobody's dealt with, right, frankly, at all, because we don't have, we've only got historical data for 200 that's generous to say 200 years at best, right? Yeah. And we have other data that we've extrapolated to find that's probably pretty accurate. Yeah. But when you take all that and you try to factor in what does this all mean for a future that, again, we don't necessarily have entirely accurate data to predict, it can make it very easy to see that things can be very scary. Yeah. But that's not gonna help to go pushing that and to go showing people worst case, probably inaccurate scenarios. We got to find the data that's true and the data that actually makes sense, makes a difference, and then give that to people, because that's scary enough. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Like the truth is scary enough.
The truth is, it's very true. It's true. Yeah. The real information is enough that should put your butt in motion.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So, and the truth also is that people don't, if people are going to make a difference, they need to be shown why, and they need to be given a chance to ease themselves in, and that's what we do.
That's right.
That's what we're about.
Yeah, I like to think of us as we're the Bob Ross of environmentalism.
Oh, if only I could grow Bob Ross's hair.
But you know what I mean? It's like you're just kind of watching the scenes unfold. You're like, yeah, I just feel so much encouragement. I could do this. I could get out of canvas and I could do that image. Yeah, Bob, absolutely. I'm with you.
Absolutely.
Anyway, but so you're at JFK right now, so I know this probably isn't easy. So at any point, if you got to jump off the call, let me know. But
this may be a shorter podcast this week than normal, just because
that's okay.
It's a little while. They had some people up, cleaning up some stuff around me.
Yeah. I know. I can, for those of you listening, we won't have a video for this one, but I can see Noel's face on the laptop on the Skype call. I can see him sitting there, and I've seen him looking around as he's trying to, continually talk to me and explain things. And he's like, I know he's dealing with, I was at JFK just last week, and I mean, it's not easy to just like maintain a regular conversation without being interrupted every minute by somebody coming through. So
yeah, well, I mean, it is the biggest city in the United States.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's for sure.
This is one of the major airports, so it gets full. It's finding a corner to do this.
Have you eaten yet? Have you eaten?
I ate before I got here.
Okay,
Thankfully, my flight's a little later in the day.
Okay, good.
Which is good. So it's not so bad. I was able to pretty much get settled in and ready and all checked in. And I have time. My flight doesn't leave for another it boards in 25 minutes. So
okay, good.
I'm good.
Okay,
I'm
good. That's great. That's great, baby. Yeah. Well, yeah, I can't wait to have you back. I can't wait to have us both back here. We have so much to catch up on, and yeah, man, it's crazy. So next week we'll have a regular episode, video and all, and it'll be our glorious, handsome faces back here on the show. But this was really just a chance.
So glorious.
Yes, so handsome.
That should be on our tagline too.
Oh,
so
for
glorious.
sure. So handsome.
So handsome.
Agreed. Well, we wanted to do this because we didn't want our audience to go a Thursday without having the Biofriendly podcast, and so we will move mountains to make it happen.
It's our commitment to you that we'll find a way to at least talk about something every week.
Well, I was going to tell you one of the things that really struck me from my trip, which was, I did a lot of the advice that we had talked about for traveling. I definitely packed light. I was on some packed aircraft. Getting there, and then when I got there, a lot of what we talk about is the problem of bottled water, right? We talk about bottled water and carrying your own, know your cup, and know your cup, and carrying around a container and getting the water. Well, I encountered something as my naive North American man here. I get to another country where you don't drink the water in the tap, and you don't go to a restaurant. And when you order an agua in Brazil, they don't bring you a glass of water that they got out of the little spout. They bring you a bottled water and they pour it into a glass. And everywhere I went, there was bottled water. That was your only option. It was absolutely not an option to get water any other way. And that was a real eye-opener for me.
Unless you decide to live down there for a while, and then you just go ahead and you go ahead and let the bacteria
you just acclimate
jump in your stomach and become part of your life.
Yeah,
and then once they're in there, you'll stop doing diarrhea everywhere.
Yeah. Exactly. You'd have to acclimate, but I thought, the wild thing was, I have a pure, thing. I have filtration systems at home. I have ways of getting it. And then when you go to a restaurant, they're going to get you a filtered water because they've got it all hooked up to these tanks and, pour you a glass, and it's just easy. And here I was, every time I wanted a water, I had to take a bottle of water. And I was going, man, this is a global problem, because it's the easiest way to get water to people. And yet it's so problematic. So really, the message isn't only, you got to carry your own water bottle. It's we got to come up with different containers. You know what I mean? There's got to be a different vessel for transporting water.
So much of what we've got to do long term at Biofriendly, it isn't just education, because education's, it makes a difference, because locally, in Brazil, they can still do, right? They can eliminate plastic on their own. There's not that many people traveling, so it isn't that. There's something that can be done there.
Right.
And thankfully, that's PET1, so it is recyclable. At least we can turn it into something else, maybe useful.
Yeah.
But the thing is so much of what we got to do at this company is start to work on better technologies.
Better technologies.
So we as a race are so inventive. You look at some of the stuff that we've come up with. Yeah. And we just haven't really thought with green in mind. Yeah. We just invent, just thinking of what's the way to get it done, not what's the way to get it done responsibly.
Right.
And that's part of why we do the podcast every week, and we build up the audience and get people sort of start thinking that way. Because once it's in mind and it becomes a consideration, then we'll stop inventing things that aren't as helpful, and we'll be able to come up with better inventions to fix some of the problems, because that's what we're about. That's what people do.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, and I this morning there was an article that I saw that said Cambodia is shipping back 1,600 tons of U.S. recycling waste back to us.
Oh, great!
And I thought
that's fantastic.
And I thought what was so funny about that is like, here's, that's going to be a big wake up call because, up for a long time, the U.S. has shipped our recycling and our trash off to these countries, and all these countries are like, no. You can have it back now. And they're saying
we don't need it.
We don't need it. You're definitely going to take your trash back. And I was like, you know what? Good for them. Yeah. Send it back. We'll figure it out here on the home turf. We'll figure out ways to get rid of it and break things down.
The saddest part about that is the carbon emissions value, right? Like the greenhouse gas is produced by shipping all that plastic to Indonesia in the first place.
Right.
Was not fantastic. We should have done it here. The responsible way to do it would have been to do it here.
I know.
But then what's hilarious is them sending it back. We just doubled down on that.
Just doubled down. I know.
Out of greenhouse gas emissions.
I feel like the U.S. policy for recycling and trash so far has been like we have this giant rug and we're just like been sweeping, and that's third world countries, and we've just been sweeping it under the rug, and then the rug just was like, yeah, no, we're I'm not gonna. You guys
take it back. We don't want it.
We don't want it anymore. So we kind of have to face the music and come up with stuff. But to your point, it is so much more about innovation and coming up with new ways. And I think that the wave of tomorrow is from the inventiveness of electric cars and solar panels and wind turbines. We just need more and more creative minds coming out and being like, oh, well, you know what? You can drink bottled water as much as you want because I created this container that is completely compostable and biodegradable, and every water company in the world is going to use it, So yeah.
So let's just do that.
Let's do that. So on your flight home, can you figure that out?
You got it. No problem. I'm on it.
Just get a cocktail napkin and sit down and jot down a few ideas. Didn't a famous actress, if I know the story right, come up with like the atom bomb or something like that on a cocktail napkin, and then it was licensed by I think it's Hedy Lamarr. I think it was a famous actress. Maybe it's not the atom bomb. It was something very, very cutting edge, like military technology. And she came up with it, wrote it on a cocktail napkin, and that's absolutely what they used. I'll have to look up that story. I'll probably cut this part out of the podcast.
I don't feel like it. Well, I don't feel like it was the atom bomb because
it wasn't. It wasn't the atom bomb.
Pretty significant project, the Manhattan Project.
Yeah,
I think had a whole bunch of people working on it.
Yeah, it wasn't the atom bomb. Here, I'm gonna find it right now. Lamar cocktail napkin. There it is. I've got it.
This is fantastic radio.
I know. No. It is good. Anyway, well, you tell me more about something while I'm looking this up because it's good.
Tell you more about something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Come on.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I have left at the moment. It's very unusual that I'm out of words, to talk about. But there's been a lot of late nights here.
Yeah,
I get it, a lot of early mornings, and so the old ticker is not slamming as fast as it would normally be doing so, particularly with all the distractions.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry that I don't have something sparkling to just bring this along. I do think it's hilarious though that this tangent came up and that we don't have the mental faculties to know off the top of our head who this actress was.
I'm still tired from Brazil. I'll
tell you what. Let's find out, and then we'll like next time. We'll go. All right, or the audience can go ahead and scream it at us, and then next time we'll make fun of ourselves for the fact that we didn't know.
Yeah. Well, I did find out this little bit, but we can touch on this later. Hedy Lamarr, what she wrote on the napkin helped define Wi-Fi, GPS, and Bluetooth. So she wrote on a cocktail napkin, and that is what she wrote on the cocktail napkin helped enable that for the future. So we'll dig into that because that's just the tip of the iceberg. But yeah, very smart lady.
You were so close. So close.
Atom bomb or Bluetooth
and Wi-Fi. It's not basically
one man's atom bomb is another man's Wi-Fi. I knew it was something that was like, holy moly, I can't believe she did that. And then I was like, I don't know why the atom bomb. I was thinking of the atom bomb. It's definitely not that one. So anyway.
Every time I hear the name Hedy Lamarr,
think of Blazing Saddles.
I think about, yes, or every single Mel Brooks movie where he always seems that same actor, Hedley.
Yeah.
Hedley Lamarr.
Hedley.
Hedley.
Yeah. Hedley. I know. That's it's impossible to think of her without thinking of that bit for sure. Well, we've got a respectable runtime here for a guest podcast. I'm gonna let you just get yourself situated, and
Thank you, sir.
we did it, man. We did it. We pulled it together, and this was
we saved the world today.
We saved the world today. We have been saving the world, and we will continue to do so. So you have a safe flight home. And thank you for everybody joining in. We are your beacon of light in a gloomy environment.
Sound years ahead of the competition.
Saving the world eventually.
Tantamount.
And what was our new one?
And then what's that? I was like, we're spectacular and handsome or something?
It was something like that. I'm going to go back and review it, but it was so wonderful, so handsome, or something like that. But
something like that.
Yeah, handsome is
something
definitely
very, very self-centered and awesome.
Well, I think every now and then you can be. So anyway,
Yes.
All right, buddy. Well, safe travels, and I will see you back here. And thanks everybody for listening. And we will be back on target next week for a full-on Biofriendly podcast with all the bells and whistles. And we will have bells and whistles.
There will be bells. There will be whistles.
There will be bells and whistles. All right. I'll talk to you later.
All right, for sure.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
It's the Biofriendly Podcast. It's the Biofriendly Podcast.